This is a tutorial for how to do the basic time value of money calculations on a Hewlett-Packard 12C calculator. Alright, first thing we need to do is turn our calculator on by hitting the on button. Your calculator displays two decimal places as a factory setting, but since we'll be working with a lot of percentages, we need to increase the number of decimals that are displayed after the decimal point. So in order to do that, we first hit the F button, and then say, for example, we want to display 4 decimals places after the decimal place, hit 4. And there we have 4 zeros. I would recommend having at least four zeros displayed at all times. Now the 5 main time value of money buttons we're going to use to solve time value of money calculations are on the top left. N is the number of periods that we're going to compound. I is the interest rate. PV is the present value, or the value in today's dollars. PMT is payment, which is an equal stream of payments, also known as an annuity, but they are always equal payments. And then FV is future value, or the value of our money at some point in the future. So suppose we want to see how much a $100 deposit would grow in 2 years at 5% interest. Now note that whenever you enter a number in these 5 time value of money buttons, the calculator stores it until you either override it with another number or you clear the financial buttons, which I'll show you how to do in a minute. Now it doesn't matter in which order you enter the numbers in the buttons, but we'll go from left to right just for simplicity. So again, we're going to see how much a $100 deposit would grow in 2 years at 5% interest. So the number of periods is 2. So first you hit the number, and then you hit N for number of periods. Then interest rate is 5%. Now the calculator records the interest rates as whole numbers. So you need to just hit 5 instead of 0.05 and hit I for the interest rate. Now $100 is our present value, how much we have now. So we hit 100, present value. Now we don't have a payment. Okay? If we were making annual payments or deposits into the account, we would have a payment. But since we don't, we're going to go ahead and enter 0 for the payment. Okay? I would always recommend entering a number, even if it's 0, into 4 of the 5 buttons. Because remember, your calculator stores whatever number you've put in there until you either override it or clear it. All right? Now to calculate what the future value would be, what this $100 will grow to in 2 years at 5%, all you need to do is hit the FV, Future Value Calculator button, to see that it's $110.25. Now note that the calculator displays it as a negative. Okay? What the calculator does is regard these time value of money cash flows as inflows and outflows. So since we put $100 in as a positive, we'll take out $110.25 as an outflow or as a negative. So you can just ignore the negative sign for now. Okay? When we get to later calculations, I would always recommend putting the present value in as a negative, especially when you're working with, say, bond calculations. Alright, so now to clear the display, we can hit just the CLX button, alright, and then it goes to 0. But remember that those numbers are still stored in the 5 time value of money buttons. Alright? So you can also clear all the time value of money buttons by hitting the gold F button and hitting this X greater than or less than Y. What you see above it, it says clear FIN for financial buttons. Okay? Now notice that most of the buttons here on the left side of the calculator have lettering in gold above and blue below, and even these buttons over here on the right have lettering in blue below. These functions are accessed by using either the gold F button or the blue G button. So again, if we want to clear everything in our financial time value of money buttons, hit F and then the clear financial buttons. If you want to clear everything from the calculator, you can also hit F and then the clear X or the REG. Okay. Alright, so that's our first example of a time value of money calculation. Let's do another. Say we're looking for how many years it will take for $100 to grow to $500 at a 10% interest rate. So we're going to be solving for N, the number of periods. Okay. Now, note that if you entered both the present value of $100 and future value of $500 in as positive number, you will get an error message. All right. So we need to enter one of them in as a negative. Remember, your calculator considers the numbers we enter as cash inflows and outflows. So, again, our interest rate is 10%. So we hit 10I. And then our present value is 100. But we need to make this negative so we don't get that error message. So we hit 100 and then the CHS button here on the top. CHS stands for change the sign. There we go. Now the 100 is negative and then hit the PV button to enter that as our present value. Again, our payment, we don't have a payment, so we're still going to put 0 in as payment. And our future value is 500. Alright, then hitting N for the number of years it's going to take our $100 to grow to 500 at 10% gives us 17 years. Alright, let's go the other way. Say we want to leave our money in for 10 years and we want to see what interest rate it would take for our $100 to grow to $500. Now, we've already entered the $100 and $500 into the present value and future value buttons respectively. So we can just leave them in there. So again, our example is we want to leave our money in for 10 years. So we're going to put 10 and in. And then we're going to hit the interest rate button to see that the account would have to earn 17.46% for the $100 deposit to grow to 500 in 10 years. Now this is also known as the growth rate. So if you're solving for a growth rate, interest rate, same thing. So again, remember that when you're entering a number into two of the three buttons, either present value, payment, or future value, you have to make one of them negative. If we didn't, just for illustration's sake, if I just hit the 100 in the present value and again try to solve for the interest rate, it's going to give me an error 5. Alright. Now, one type of time value of money calculation involves annuities. So again, annuities is when we're solving for the payment. Again, equal annual payments or equal payments over any period, monthly, semi-annually, or annually. Now, ordinary annuities are where the cash flows occur at the end of the period. All right, and these are going to be the typical annuity you're going to work with. But every once in a while, you're going to have annuities due, where the cash flows occur at the beginning of the period. So we need to adjust the calculator in order to recognize that. All right? So let's do an example of both an ordinary annuity and an annuity due so you can see the difference. Let's say we're going to put $100 in a year for 5 years into an account that earns 8% a year. And we're going to calculate the future value, so what's going to be worth at the end of 5 years. All right. So 5 years is our N. 8 is our interest rate. Now we don't have a present value. We don't have any money in the account right now. So 0 for present value. 100 for our payment, because that's how much we're going to enter every year. And then we want to know the future value, so hit the FB button to get 586.66. Now that was an example of an ordinary annuity. Okay, the payments occur at the end of the cash flows. Okay, the calculator's default setting is for cash flows to occur at the end of the period. Now let's say we want to change this to an annuity due, So the cash flows occur at the beginning of the period. We're going to hit our G shift button and then the number 7. You can see under the number 7 it says BEG, which is short for begin. Okay, and you can see the calculator now displays BEGIN on the display. Okay. Now all our numbers are still in there, so our $100 payment and so on. So if we hit the future value button again, you see the answer changes to $633.59. So the future value of an annuities due will always be higher than for ordinary annuities. Okay. Now again, most calculations have end of the year cash flows, so we need to change that back and leave it at end unless a problem otherwise states it to be the cash flows to be at the beginning of the period. So again, we're going to hit G for our shift, and we're going to hit the number 8. Under the number 8 it says end, and you notice the begin disappears from our display. Now this concludes part 1 of the time value of money tutorial.